Hey guys, welcome back, and this will be another edition of Sierra Chart Tips and Tricks. This will be the sixth edition of that, and this will mainly be focusing on efficiency with Sierra Chart, and that includes sort of things like how you color your buttons for viewability to charts lagging and stuff like that. So some of what I cover here I'll have covered in some other videos just in passing possibly. But in this video I'll cover it in a little bit more depth to kind of give you guys an idea of why certain things are inefficient or more efficient or can cause issues. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first thing is, especially for newer Sierra chart users, they create a chart book, right? So these are my chart book tabs up here in the top left. They create a chart book and they save it, and then each time they open Sierra chart, they have to go open up that chart book, and it's just a real pain in the butt. But what if you say have multiple chart books and you always want them open each time you're in Sierra chart? Well, there's a way to do that. It's in global settings, general settings, and up here it says files to open on startup. You want to enable that and then simply add. Okay, so add your chart books that you want to automatically open when Sierra chart starts up. Okay, on the same screen we have this setting here which says show chart book tabs at. You can change to from the top to the bottom. Okay. Likewise, your charts or MDI window tabs, you can show them down here or you can show them on the top. Okay. And you can also support multiple rows. So if you have a ton of charts and they just keep going and normally you have to scroll over to get to them, well, you can support multiple rows down here. Okay, so that is also useful. Another thing, if when you open a new intraday chart, you want to use a study collection every single time for those new charts, this is where you set it. You check this and then you select what study collection you want to use. And this will default to like analysis in your studies, all your study collections. This is what that is referring to, is just your study collections. Okay, so you can check this or not check it, whatever. And then, we're in general settings. Just make a note. Hey, look at the chart update interval in milliseconds. We're going to come back to that. Okay, so that's one thing. The second thing is that a lot of new users, they come from, you might even be an existing Sierra chart user. Let's say you use Rhythmic or something like that. It's got its own Rhythmic routing and data, mainly just the routing, that's the issue. Rhythmic has its own symbols, right? CQG has its own symbols, right? Denali, Sierra Charts, has its own symbols, right? Yada, yada, yada. It goes for routing, uh, you know, the symbols are different, right? So you've got all of Sierra Chart loaded, and you might have all your watch lists and everything with these old, like, rhythmic symbols here. You need to convert those, right? So this is just kind of a help, especially for newer users, but users who also switch from different routing types, right? You need to go up here when you've got your chart books open, and once you have in your global settings, let me do something here. I want to cover up that password here real fast. Oh no, it's there. It's there. It's there. It's that little dark spot. You want to go into your global data, trade service settings, and let's say you have you came from Rhythmic and you enter your username and passwords in, and everything's right. It's not going to automatically switch over your service. So even if this is, your username and everything is correct, you still need to go in here to edit, translate symbols to current service. And what that's going to do is going to take all the symbols in this whole chart book and translate them all automatically to your current routing service. So, you know, the yeah. So that can just be something you really want to make sure that you do. Okay, so that's just kind of almost an aside. So when charts are third thing is when charts are loading slowly, you want to reduce the amount of days loaded on your intraday charts. All right, go into your chart settings. I'm right-clicking a blank spot on my chart. Go into your chart settings and see this days to load. Right, that can be an issue if you have too many days loaded into your chart, especially if you have multiple volume by price studies. You're going to have issues with whenever you switch a symbol, it's going to take a long time and it's just going to lag your Sierra chart. Okay, so for example, I typically trade with a 5-minute candle for intraday. 10 days is enough. I kind of want to just scroll, look left, and kind of take a look at recent price action, right? So for the studies I have loaded, 10 days works. But say like for your footprint, if you go into your chart settings, maybe 3 days is enough because you don't care about, footprints about short-term rotation, right? So maybe even 2 days is enough, okay? So that every time you're clicking on a quote board, you're not, let's say these are all linked down here, right? You're not loading gobs and gobs of data, okay? That just takes too long. So that's a little bit of an issue. Okay, so the fourth thing is Sierra chart performance being degraded by your chart update interval. What I mean by that is if you go into your chart settings, for each chart, right, Sierra chart updates this based on either specific individual chart setting for each chart, which can be set here in the chart settings, advanced settings, and chart update interval in milliseconds. 0 uses the global setting, okay? But you can set this chart to update faster. Well, that uses a lot of CPU or processing power. Okay, so my suggestion is set all of your charts to 0 and then go up to your global general settings and your chart update interval update interval in milliseconds. Have it something like 500, or if you're having issues, try 1,000. See what the charts look like. All right, go back and forth and kind of see if you even notice a difference. If you don't, move this to something higher because that's going to improve Sierra chart performance. Okay, same with your quote board. Your quote board is just like your watch list. So, does that need to be something really low? Probably not. Okay? So, that's where you would set this, and that can really help improve performance. Okay? Also, your button visibility. Okay? All of these buttons up here can be individually set with a different background color, right? So what sets the background color for buttons by default is in global settings, graphics settings, and then if you scroll down to control bar button default background, that's what controls that background. So if you have it to something dark and your text, like your enabled button text, see all these are buttons are enabled, and meaning that you can actually click on them and they do something. Right? Certain buttons are disabled, like undo draw. Why? Because there's no drawings on the chart that I recently did, so there's nothing to undo. So that's your disabled button text. So if you set this to something dark and you're using dark theme, you want to have it dark enough to where like the disabled button text being like a gray color still gives you contrast. Okay. This disabled button text also works for anything that uses an image, and it'll just use that color for the graying out of the image. Okay, so that's where you set this. And to show you an example, let's say I zoom on this part of the chart. See how this becomes enabled? Because this is a cancel current zoom button. Right? Well, once I cancel it, there's no longer anything to cancel. Right? So it's essentially a disabled button. Or let's say I make a drawing. See how undo draw is now white? Okay, so likewise, you can change the background color, right, of buttons. And so you would want to do that when you're using images, right? Because the images are usually highlighted in dark. So you'd want to have a lighter button. Likewise, right? You see how there's a shading that goes on when a button is selected, right? See how it's easy to see? Like sim mode is enabled right now, so it's easy to see when it's dark. It's also easy to see when it's light, but it's not easy to see if it's this dark medium gray color, right? So there's no contrast. So change your button colors, and the way that you do that is you right click anywhere on the customize control bar. I'm sorry, you right click anywhere on the control bar on the buttons here, and then this menu pops up, customize control bar, and you find the button that you want to change. So like for example, in this case, you've got like your hand tool button. So, click it, click properties, and then the color. And that's where you would set it. So you go in, set your color. If you want them all the same, right, set your color. After you have a color that you like right here, add custom colors, and it'll put it in the number 1 slot here. Okay. Click OK, and then do that for all of the other ones, right? And that custom color will, when you go in here, just select it so that you know that you have the same color. Okay, so you can do that as well. So that's going to help you to quickly see different things that you use for drawings. So, just a little trick or a little tip on, getting a little bit better visibility up here from your buttons. Okay, so the sixth thing is the volume by price study and setting the tick on it to a very low setting when there is high volatility. So let's say you're trading the NASDAQ, right? And you trade it all the time, and it's the volatility is high, right? This is the ES. But all right, so let's look at it. The study here, the volume by price study, which is a really common study. And I have them set. I have quite a few of them on my chart. And I've got one for the regular trading hours, extended trading hours, etc. But looking at the regular, let's move this over here. Looking at the regular trading hours and going to the settings for it, you notice I've got my ticks per volume bar set to 2. Well, that's to increase performance during volatility. Okay. Most of the time, when you have huge range days like this, and there's lots of volatility, so ATR is really high, at some points it might be 8 to 10, average high to low over the last 14 periods on 5-minute candles. Right, so you got these extreme range candles. The ticks per volume bar, which is how it aggregates the data, if it's set to 1, Is it, ask yourself, is it going to make that much of a difference? Let's set it to 1, apply, and look at what this looks like. Look at the point of control here. Look at value area low here and high. So does it make a difference? Nothing moved. Just, you get a little finer detail, but that's still just a volume node, and this is an LVN. LVN, LVN, volume node, point of control, nothing moved. So you want to be cognizant or aware of that when volatility is high, because if you have multiple studies, you got your cumulative delta imbalance study here, right, at tick. And then you got your Globex at tick, right? And so that's 3 different volume by price studies that have to load and be calculated in real time as as price is changing. That is going to take up a lot of processing power. That can slow everything down. And you'll all of a sudden get like some choppiness to your data or to your charts, right? So kind of think about that a little bit, that will make quite a difference. So anyway, set mine back to 2, and again, I got even my deltas are set to 2 here, ticks, and it works out just fine. And it, maybe for the Nasdaq, which moves, hundreds of points, multiple, 300-400 points sometimes on a big day, setting the ticks to 4 is more than what you need, maybe even 8 or something like that, right? And that's going to increase your performance across everything, which, will help your DOM to keep up and all kinds of things. Okay, so kind of think about that. Another thing, if you're using the same charts over and over and over, don't just have a quote board which is linked to all your charts. Have a whole different chart book that just has the charts you trade often open, right? And then just go in and set, a button up here for turning your trade DOM on and off, right? See this? DOM on or off. And set it up the way you want it to be set up. Look. And just trade right from that chart. You don't have to have a separate DOM open. Just set up the DOM for this chart. Like this chart, set up the DOM for this chart. See that? It's the same for everything, right? You can click on this one and turn it off, turn your trade mode off if you want, whatever. So this chart will have its own settings. This one will have its own settings. Think about that for flow and for, not having to reload charts that are linked and waiting for them to reload, right? Just have the chart open, right? And then have the volume by price studies set correctly to aggregate based on the volatility and the kind of market you're in. So if VIX is high above 25 or something, move the tick setting up a little higher, right? It's not going to kill you. Play with it a little bit. You saw earlier, like just creating that, making that setting and hitting apply, you can kind of see if anything shifts around, right? And that's going to increase your performance, right? So just, just kind of think about that. See, trade mode off gets rid of the DOM in one. So you don't have to hit DOM off and then trade mode off, right? So little things like that, once you learn the software, also make a difference. Last thing, and probably the most complicated thing, here we'll go back to the main chart, is, we'll get rid of this, move it off to another screen. And we can probably get rid of this too. Get rid of this little black rectangle right in the middle here. There you go. It's gone now. Sierra Chart has a page where if you just type in Sierra Chart, no S on the end, it's not Sierra Charts, it's Sierra Chart. If your name was Jimmy, how would you like it if I called you Jimmy's all the time? And you're like, what the hell? My name isn't Jimmy's. So anyway, it's Sierra Chart, not Sierra Charts, right? So Sierra Chart, high CPU usage. Type in something like that. Hey, it takes you to a help topic, right? And this whole topic is all about performance. Okay, so charts reloading often. 30.3, right? So if a chart is reloading itself often, there can be two causes. One cause is because the chart is being referenced by two or more charts that contain a study that refer to other charts. So if you're using the study price overlay, right, and a lot of people use that, and you make this mistake, you're going to get charts reloading often, and that's going to slow down Sierra chart. And so an example of this is here. So studies like the difference study will refer to other charts. For example, given charts 1, 2, and 3. So let's say chart 1, chart 2, chart 3, right? Each chart has a number. So, but let's just say this for simplicity, candles is 1, footprint is 2, and bookmap is 3. So given charts 1, 2, and 3, if the studies on chart 1 and 2, so candles and footprint, both make a reference to chart 3, and then 1 and 2 have different time periods, which candles, I'm using 5-minute footprint, is not even time period, then chart 3 will often reload. So this is the one that they're referring to. It'll often reload and switch between different time periods per bar. So this will often reload and switch. So that causes constant reloading for the sake of the studies that are pointed to it. So the proper solution to this is to open another chart and have the number 2 chart, or this chart, refer to the new chart instead of to chart 3. So think about it. If you have TPO charts, you're doing steady price overlays, and it's referring to, I don't know, reference RTH cash close for T plus 2, right? And this one is also using it, this candle chart down here on the left. And the candle chart's a 5-minute chart, and the default TPO uses what, 1-minute chart? Right? So they even reference that here. TPO charts reloading often. And what do they use? They use a 1-minute bar. So we know that the TPO chart, if it's referencing this chart here and the candle chart is a 5-minute chart, well, it's going to cause it. You're going to constantly get TPO charts, and this chart here is going to be constantly reloading in order to sync with the TPO or the candle chart. So make another chart so you don't have this kind of reference going on, right? It's inefficient and it causes continual reloading, okay? So that is an issue. If you don't understand it, come back here and find it and read this page. But, you know, this help topic here, high CPU usage load usage long time to load chart data is extremely useful. You know, this whole page includes all these different topics, okay? And this can really, if you read it, it can really help with performance in Sierra charts. So I highly recommend, as usual, reading through Sierra charts documentation to understand the charting software that you're using for your business, right? You know, no one else is going to fix this for you or understand it for you. If you put the time in to understand it, you know, you can do a lot of things with Sierra chart, but it does take some careful reading because, you know, they put the power of charting into the hands of the user, which means that, you know, you can mess up your settings. You know, it's not like one of these software or charting platforms that doesn't allow you to do certain things. You know, if you want to try doing something that's inefficient and that's circular and that causes other things to load often, and you know, and it slows down your chart, well, maybe there's a reason you're doing that for yourself. And Sierra charts will allow you to do that, and it's actually a good thing that you have that flexibility. But at the same time, if you don't understand what you're causing, number one, there's probably been documentation out there to address it. Number two, you can't address them on the support board. And number three, uh, you should have been, you should read about your software and make sure that you understand how to use it. So anyway, I think that's sort of everything I wanted to cover today. I hope you guys find this useful. And as always, if there's something that you'd like me to address, put it in the comments. I'm happy to do more videos like this. It keeps me sharp with Sierra Chart, and I trade for a living, and I do enjoy doing these videos, especially to help others. But it also helps me to stay sharp, especially because a lot of these things I haven't had to deal with for many moons now. So they were corrected a long time ago in my own trading regimen or knowledge of Sierra chart, and I just haven't had to think about them. So you know. Anyway, have a great weekend. It's Saturday today, so if you're going to be trading this Sunday, happy trading Globex. I wish you all prosperity and trading success. Take it easy.